And again, before I start off, I'm Pat Dugan. I'm going to be joining the team. You know, we take a team approach here at Brown & Brown. You're still going to have Jen, who's going to be your dedicated account manager. Nothing will change there. And also on the call with me is Paul Pugelli, who was originally involved in bringing your account over to Brown & Brown. I'm not sure if any of you guys remember Paul or not, but he's on the call as well. Okay, so he's going to be chiming in as well throughout our presentation. If you guys have any questions, just let me know, all right? Okay, so to start off, I just want to give you guys an idea of the overall, the marketplace of the commercial insurance industry. You know, these have been some crazy times with COVID and a few other things that have been going on. So I just want to show you guys where we're at, just so you know what, you know, when you're getting in, where your numbers are coming in at, you need to know if they're good or not, right? Compared to what's going on in the marketplace. So unfortunately for everybody, it's a very hard marketplace right now, where we're seeing the 13 consecutive quarter of increased premiums, with the average increase of 10.7% across all accounts. The large accounts are getting hit the most at 13.7, where you would fall in the medium size is at 11.7 right now. The small accounts are getting hit the least at a 6.7. So it's also the third consecutive quarter in which increased for all lines, including workers' comp. So all lines are going up right now. That's just kind of the condition of the marketplace right now. The worst lines that are getting hit the most are the umbrella, followed by D&O and commercial property. Auto's up there as well. And the reason for these increases is kind of a multifaceted, just kind of a perfect storm, to be honest with you, where COVID obviously had its effect on the marketplace. It had its effect on the workplace, not only in the number of claims and other things, but also revenue was down. A lot of people were laid off. A lot of trucks were parked. There was a lot of business that just wasn't done, and revenue wasn't, premium dollars weren't coming in. So that had an effect. And then now on top of it, the other thing that's going on is what's called social inflation, with these nuclear verdicts, where verdicts are just kind of going off the charts now. Some of them over $10 million, some of them in the tens of millions of dollars. So that's why those umbrella premiums are getting hit really hard, just because these days with the juries, and it's really a whole phenomenon right now, where it's just getting kind of crazy how high some of these payouts are getting. So that's the cause for that. So I just kind of want to let you know, just give you an overview of the marketplace right there. Let me go back to a new share here, and I'll pull up your proposal.
Just a quick question. Are you seeing things happen like this in the individual lines as well?
So what's that?
I was just wondering if your individual lines rates are increasing at the same.
The personal lines, yeah, but we're seeing this in personal lines as well. That council index, that's an independent council index that is just for commercial insurance. But yeah, we're absolutely seeing the same thing on the personal line side.
I see. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and what's really tough is it's taken some of the capacities down as well. Some of the contractors that we work with that, you know, they need $10 million umbrellas to work with, you know, certain governments or pharma companies or things like that. A lot of these $10 million umbrellas are actually getting hard to get, where they have to kind of piecemeal them together at this point, just because, you know, again, just because they're just taking so much hits in some cases. So first, I want to start with your premium summary page. The biggest increase that you guys have down here is your workers' comp. Now, what's driving that is some of the increases of your payrolls. So the police jumped up year over year. It went from 264 up to 301, which is a difference of about $37,000. And then if you take a look here at the city town class code, that was broken up into the ambulance at your request. But there was an increase there of about $61,000. It went from 503 up to 564 if you add these two together.
These are workers' comp claims?
No, these are just the workers' comp payrolls. These are your exposures.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so these are your exposures. So if you take a look at it, between both of those class codes, and those are two of your driving class codes, there was an increase of $98,423. So if you look at that on what you were paying last year of 767, that's about a 14% increase. So overall, year over year, your premium is going from 64.5 up to 70.7, which is about a 10% increase, but it's being driven by the increase of your payrolls.
Yeah, if I could just jump in there, Pat, you're absolutely correct. You know, in this particular, in many cases, we're seeing, even with the same payrolls, we're seeing increases in premium. But you can attribute this, like you said, the total payrolls are up almost 14%, and the premium itself is up 9.5%, a little under 10%. So it's actually coming in a little bit less than the payrolls would indicate. But so it looks like what's happened here is payroll growth, significant payroll growth, which, if I recall correctly, was based on the last full audit that was done. And so, you know, the way the workers' comp works, of course, is that the payrolls are estimates going into the beginning of the year, and you settle up at the end of the year. If your payrolls are higher, you pay more. If they're less, you get money back. And so it looks like it's been a history of payrolls climbing for those classes.
Right.
I just want, to comment on the salaries. Obviously we have a unionized police department. We've added a fourth full-time officer, so that accounts for, the large increase in the police salaries. On the ambulance and EMS side, we have broken that out. With COVID, their payroll's running $9,000 every 2 weeks. So that's we have to account for that in the renewal. If not, we're just going to get audited and pay for it later. So, I would like to point out if, as a result of the audit that will come about of the premiums, if our numbers are less, then we will get a refund at the audit time. But typically we try to be as accurate as we can with our salaries. I'd like to point out too, that when I looked at these numbers, I was a little surprised, pleasantly surprised, because in 2018, 2019, the package was $76,799. And then in 2020 to 2021, it went to $96,562, which was almost a $20,000 increase. And then this year it went from $96,562 to $106,341. So that's about a $9,700 increase. So by comparison to previous years, even with COVID, I was actually bracing for something higher. So when I looked at the numbers today and saw 9,700, I wasn't thrilled, but it was better than what I anticipated.
Yeah, and again, that's what we're here for, to represent you. We definitely had some negotiating to do on this renewal, and we're happy where we came in at, especially with some of the increases and where the marketplace is. We were very happy with what we were able to do. That 106 was not what we started out at, but we were able to get down to what we thought was a very, very satisfactory renewal for you guys. Also on the package side, there was some increases as well, with the budget increase of 3%. You're in the marine values, I think, and again, I'm new to your account. I'm just kind of getting on board here, but you guys added some police equipment, I believe, which increased your in the marine values about 75%. Does that sound right?
But we increased the coverage on our traffic signal by $100,000 or more.
Okay.
So, you know, that was, we are looking.
Oh, okay.
We're looking to upgrade that signal, and we've got some pretty good estimates from our engineers, and we had it very much underfunded,
Okay.
underinsured rather.
Okay. And there was also an adjustment in the property values as well, which brought the property values up about 2.5%. And that's something that Paul could touch on as well. But there was an increase in that as well that you have to factor in for the package increase. We did market this. We took it out to Selective, who is, if anybody was going to come in and beat your current package now, it would be them. And they actually came in at 38 and change. So, you know, again, it just reaffirms that we're happy with what this renewal came in at here.
And I'll just jump in again here. As Pat alluded to, this is what you're looking at is the second revision after the initial quote. The first quote we had was about overall was about 111,915, so it was just around 112. And then we went to battle with the package carrier because they wanted to increase those property values from 19,000,008 to 23,142,000, and we're like, whoa, like, so and it actually brings up a side topic, which I'll touch on in a second, but we just felt like that was just way too big of a jump for 1 year. I think it amounted to like I don't know, at least a 10 or 12% increase in property value. So we kind of negotiated with them. We kept the property value increase to about 6%. But their concern or issue is the water and sewer installations properly valued, and these are always a little hard to get to, and so unless unless you have an appraisal would give a firm figure on that, but I'm guessing you probably don't, and so the next best thing is to have an engineer's opinion about some of those values. So this is not something we need to go into great detail tonight, but it's something we probably should look at during the year to see how close these values are to what it would cost to replace them. So, but that was a battle, and we shaved about $2,500 off the initial quote by lowering the property values to a more modest 6%. And based on what I see, these property values had not been increased for a number of years. I'm not sure that had been increased since I was first involved with the account. So it was kind of long overdue, but unfortunately what the carriers were trying to do is they were trying to play catch up for the last 8 years in 1 year. And we just said, no, you can't do that. So that was a bit of a battle. And the workers' comp, the initial quote on the workers' comp was 73,765. So we got them to drop about $3,000. So it took a little work, but we after 2 revisions later, this is where we got to. And as Pat mentioned, there doesn't seem to be anyone else out there that could be more competitive. And I'll just add one other thing, and that is you are with the only standard insurance company in Pennsylvania for workers' comp that will insure the volunteer fire company. Your only other option there is to pull that out and to have that insured by the state workers insurance fund. And so if you do that, we might get more options on the workers' comp without the fire company, but you're going to pay double for the fire company what you're paying now. And so I think whatever good we do by splitting that apart is going to be undone by the additional premium you would pay. I think I don't know if you have it in front of you, Pat, but I thought it was around $14,000 for the volunteer fire company. You go to the state workers insurance fund and it's probably $25,000. So So right out of the gate, you got to save 11,000 on the other side to make it worthwhile. So there's not too many options available there, but we'll certainly keep working them to keep those premiums in line.
Well, just a couple comments there. Let's start with the property. For the Borough Council, there's not an awful lot of property that the borough owns and insures. It's basically the park, the municipal building, and trailhead. The real money is in the water treatment plant, the wastewater plant. And you're right, we don't do an appraisal. What the engineer and I do is we sit down with the values and we apply the construction price index increase every 2 years. And we do a simple calculation and increase those values on the authority properties. With regard to the workers' comp for the EMS, after breaking them out into their own rate code, we've now negotiated an agreement with them whereby they reimburse us for that paid EMS premium. So they're now reimbursing the borough about $15,000 a year, which otherwise the Borough Council was having to spend. So, you know, that's a change from last year. And the last thing I'd like to point out on is something that I look at every year is the experience modification factor on our workers' comp. And back in 18, we were in a really good position at 0.803. And then, of course, we took a jump last year to 1%. And now we're heading back down. We're at 0.931, which is good. So hopefully, you know, we can get back around to that 0.803 again. But thanks to your help with the EMS payroll, you know, we were able to negotiate a reimbursement with our ambulance corps, and they are paying that premium back to us every 2 weeks as part of payroll.
So Fred, are you saying that you provide the value of the buildings to them, or are they?
Yeah, the municipal building, we haven't changed in years, and we didn't do anything with it this year, obviously, because of this movie. But with the authority properties,
Right.
Generally, what we do is we share the schedule of values with Mr. Hill. He looks at those, and some years he makes a change. Just about every 2 years he looks at it,
Right.
and we make a change in the authority properties. But then when you get into looking at, you know, as Bill pointed out, you have a wastewater plant, which is a concrete tank.
Right.
Unless you get an earth, what's going to happen to it? It's not going to catch on fire.
Yeah.
So, but we do, the engineer for the authority does evaluate the values, and we try to keep them updated.
Well, the one that jumped out at me was this building. I think it's valued at 439,000 or something like that. I don't know how that would be. This is worth 490.
Based on, you know,
39,000.
replacement value, where would we go if this? What would we have to build?
I don't know. I just thought that was high, almost double its value. If we had to build, obviously, you're not gonna build the same thing that we got here.
No.
But you know, there's no land with it. It's just the ground it sits on, and that's it. But I think that answered one of my questions that I had. So, all right.
The other
I
thing
suggest
I'd like to point out for the county.
I was going to say, I suggest that
Go ahead.
this is definitely something we do a follow up on to go through this, because this issue came up this year. And so both Pat and I want to get up to speed on the values you have provided in the past. And then we could talk to the insurance company about them. And then maybe that's something we could even get resolved, you know, because, you know, today's the 4th. The policies don't renew for another 27 days. And so we still have time to make adjustments to this. And as I always like to point out, it's like right here now, you know, this is basically your worst case. And any negotiating we would do beyond this point would be to reduce. And so we will continue to do that to the end of the month. And perhaps we have the conversation about what these values really should be, and that might have some impact on that. And also, if you were to happen to sell any of the vehicles that are listed on the auto schedule between now and the end of the month, we would certainly get that taken off, or any equipment. So anything you're going to sell or get rid of between now and the end of the month, that would come off, and there'd be a credit for that.
We have one vehicle that we're donating to a nonprofit. That will come off, and we have a dump truck. It depends if we replace that. One will come off, another one will come on. So, other than one vehicle here in the next month, I don't see our, numbers changing a lot in automobile coverage.
There's a little trick in this auto thing, though, and that is you pay a premium based on the number of vehicles that you start the term with. During the term, you don't have to pay any more to add a vehicle. I mean, you don't get anything back if you delete a vehicle. So it's very important to get the number right at the beginning of the term. So if you sell a vehicle but don't replace it till July or August, you're not going to get charged for that. But you will get a credit at the outset of the policy by taking it off. So we always try to get that number right before the policy. Once the policy goes into effect, you can say whatever you want. You're not going to get a credit. You can add whatever you want. You're not going to get an additional charge. So we try to have it work in your favor by reducing the inventory before the policy starts.
I just wanted to, for council's benefit, the annual premium cost of $106,341, that is not all paid for by the general fund. 2/3 of that is paid for by the Water and Sewer Authority because of their payroll and building costs and vehicles and so forth. So not all this premium comes out of the borough general fund.
Okay, any other questions?
I have one, Scott. What is down at the bottom, that TRIA, TRIA for 725? What is that on the bottom of the page there?
Paul, do you want to take that? That's the terrorism charge.
Yeah. So yeah, that is so in other words, $725 of the above premium, which is primarily the package, is for terrorism coverage. So if there was a terrorist event,
Okay.
You have to purchase that to have coverage for that.
Okay. Thank you.
The cyber insurance is very important these days.
It is.
Can you repeat that
We
word?
have been inundated with claims.
The cyber insurance is very, very critical. There was a recent article in our magazine, which I'm now qualified to read, and they had done a reverse computer engineering on sweatshops in India that are targeting businesses and the senior citizens in our country. And they're doing it by mail, by phone, by computer, and they are looking for opportunities to steal our resources or to hold them hostage. And that is not pleasant.
Yeah, absolutely. We see a ton of it, and that's another thing that's just taken off. It's almost like you see something every day in the news about that, right? And unfortunately, municipalities are something that they do target, and especially with the ransom virus and the fraudulent funds transfer, where they send an email that mimics something exactly like somebody that you would have, one of your board members, one of your contractors, anything like that, and then they gain access to your network, and they either lock it down, hold it hostage for a Bitcoin settlement, or they can fraudulently transfer the funds right from your network as well, if they have that human error where somebody clicks the right button. but it's scary. It's scary stuff. And the good thing about cyber right now is it's still cheap in relative terms. If you're looking at premium wise, even though it's going up a little bit because there are so many claims in the industry and it is becoming so prevalent these days, but it's still only about $2,000 for the year to get, $1 million worth of coverage.
Do you do any seminars or instruction to, say, our staff about what to be aware of or what to look for?
Do you know offhand which company are they with for the cyber? If you could scroll that.
Yeah, that's with Hiscox.
Okay.
Just,
Okay. Yeah, a lot of the carriers, they have, they have like memos and white papers and things of that nature. I'm trying to think if, we also have risk management webinars that we conduct twice a month. I'm trying to recall if we have Pat, I'm trying to recall if we have a cyber.
Yeah, we do. I can send that over. I don't have it on me right now, but that's something that I could get over to you guys for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have resources. We have risk management resources on our side as well as the carrier that I can provide to you. I'll make a note of that right now and I'll get that over.
Any other questions?
so Scott, we should get a motion to award tonight so that we could have insurance in place for June 1st.
Okay, so we don't wait till the end of the month. Okay. I will change that to tonight. Just write it down. Okay, no other questions?
No.
All right, anything else from Patrick and Paul?
Nope, that's it on our end. If there's anything that you see on here that needs to be adjusted, just let us know. And like Paul said, we got plenty of time before the renewal. So any adjustments that you would like to make, let us know and we'll get that taken care of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Look forward to working with you.
Likewise.
All righty.
Okay.
So moving down to legal matters. Mr. McKnight,
Wanted to report.
we received the update of the ordinance.
The chief pointed out to me that there are provisions designed to sort of curtail local governments from being too enthusiastic about creating penalties on ordinances that the state already has defined in its various codes. And so by concentrating on an illegal turn, we have the potential of being forced to change that in mid-course if PennDOT comes down on us for trying to overbill or overcharge for that. So in talking to the chief, what we've done is we've made it broader and basically said, look, if we want an ordinance that says if you violate any of our restrictions or bans on commercial trucks within the borough, that's when and you cause damage, that's when we're going to hit you with fines, and we're going to accumulate those for any company that has multiple violations by its drivers. So that would apply to the whole borough. Fred, we're right now getting our engineers to give to do an analysis of our streets and which ones should ban trucks and which ones shouldn't.
Yes, they've been authorized as of the last council meeting.
So as soon as we have those results, we can sign it, and then I think this would apply to the entire borough for streets that either have restrictions or bans on commercial trucks. We still need some streets to have commercial trucks, obviously, because we need businesses to be supplied. But we're trying to get the tractor trailers off narrow residential streets that just would cause damage. And we'll tweak this a bit more when the chief has a chance to look at it. And any ideas that you guys have would be helpful too. But so the idea is we're adding a penalty where we have a blatant disregard of by a trucker in trying to get through our town on streets in which they're causing damage to either our streets or to personal property or jeopardizing pedestrian travel. The sort of stuff they do on a regular basis at 641 and 233. We're just broadening it to the entire borough and not making it talking about one illegal turn. We're talking about where there are no commercial truck signs that they're disregarding. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, could I ask a question? Marcus, could I ask a question?
Sure.
Just so I understand this, it says, it starts by saying any commercial trucking company or operator of a commercial tractor trailer who operates its vehicle on a street with limited access is subject to this ordinance. How are we defining limited access?
Well, if you have a sign that says no commercial trucks over a certain size or a certain weight or whatever, I'm not sure what our engineers are going to come up with, but when they put limitations or an outright ban on a street, that's what we're trying to regulate.
That's what they're doing. They're defining what limited access is going to mean.
Right.
Okay. All right. That's what I mean.
So we get these trucks off of, it's amazing what drivers attempt to do, both within the borough and outside the borough, when they're lost or when they're trying to make a deadline, or if they're over time in terms of they should be resting, instead they're trying to get one last load delivered.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm all for it. I just, I guess I was just wondering, when you stop a driver and you say, we're ticketing you for violating limited access, tell them what that means.
Well, either there's a weight restriction or there's a restriction on size of vehicle.
And then the engineers are looking at other indices of what might limit access or make the road inappropriate for large traffic.
Right. So Jack, that'll all be based on the truck studies that our engineer is doing now. And so he'll determine and recommend to the council what streets should have that signage.
Great. Okay, thank you.
So what we're really after is going after these guys who disregard signage as plain and obvious, and and especially if they cause damage, we're going to really go after them with civil fines and restitution for any damage they've done.
There was an incident last night around 10 o'clock. The pole at the Red Lake took a tremendous hit, did significant damage to the trailer portion of the vehicle. In fact, when I went by there today, there were still pieces laying around the pole. But it damaged the electrical, there's an electrical box on that pole that controls the electrical feed to the cameras. Didn't knock out the feed to the cameras, but the box needs replaced or repaired before we get too much more rain. However, Officer Keller issued that driver, I think, 4 or 5 different citations, one of which was damage to unattended property. That's a vehicle code section that you can attach restitution to. And that's probably the reason he used that particular section for one of the citations, because we'll be able to ask the driver or the company for restitution for whatever our expenses turn out to be to repair that electrical box damage. But that pole isn't going, as the chief said, that pole is not going to take too many more hits like that before it comes down.
Well, the upside is it's insured for $275,000 now.
Well, that's not, doesn't take effect till the end of the month.
It's true. That's not funny, but it's funny. All right. Well, I mean, there should be some kind of recognition for that pole when we do take it down, because it has taken a lot of beating. So,
And give it a bell.
Scott, is that why you don't have internet? Do you think it damaged the internet?
no, I think the internet in this building just stinks altogether. So that.
Do you think we need a new building?
Question?
Well, what was that, Marcus?
Do you think we need a new building with better internet?
That's definitely the solution.
I would concur. Yes.
Well, it's on our wish list.
All right. So, what action do you need us to take tonight on this?
I need
Are
you
we
to
ready
authorize.
advertise?
I need you to authorize the advertising, and I'll continue to work with the chief and anybody else who has input. We want something that is effective, but doesn't give the trucking companies opportunity to claim we're playing dirty with creating speed traps for these guys, or fine traps that cause them unnecessary anguish. But it seems to me when they're using our streets improperly, they deserve all the fines we can muster.
I concur. All right, so looking for a motion to advertise ordinance 2021-03, which would be voted on at the end of the month.
Moved.
Make a motion.
It's been moved and it's been seconded. Any other discussion? Did you have a question?
No, I guess that's
Okay. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, so we go ahead and get that advertised and we'll take it up at the end of the month. Anything else, Marcus?
Not at the moment.
Okay, hopping down to administration committee. Mr. Crouch?
The zoning ordinance advertisements have been sent to the Valley Times Star and Sentinel. And the bid notice for North Corporation Street was also advertised. Hemp Brothers as the only one so far that requested a packet, correct? Bids will open on May 25th at 10 a.m. The spring and summer newsletter ended up to be 16 pages. And that went to the printer on Monday. So has information on the transition to Parks Disposal Service, the summer rec schedule, concert series, and it has a full page on the new zoning ordinance adoption schedule. So I think that's all we've got for now, other than we need to discuss the purchase of a used dump truck from municipal bid and authorize that purchase.
All right, so it looks like we're looking for action on the purchase of the used dump truck from municipal bid up to $13,000, $8,000 to come out of the general fund, $5,000 to come out of the water fund.
Oh, I missed them.
Is
the contributions we can do at the regular meeting. And we can do
the dump truck at the regular meeting as
I
well.
was gonna say, is this an actual truck that we need to do right now?
No.
Because after hearing what we heard from the insurance, we might just wanna slow our roll a bit on that one. Till after June 1st.
And as far as the donation, it sounds like we need to make that happen.
We can
before
do
the end
that
of the
at the
month.
regular meeting.
Okay, so is everybody okay with holding off on the dump truck until next month?
Sure.
All right, and we can discuss number 2, the contributions at the end of the month. The check has not come in from the American Recovery, and that's where those funds were coming
Yeah,
out
that's
at
where the
anyways.
money for the truck will come from.
All right.
So we should hold off.
Does the fire company, is that? fire tax? Is that separate?
Couldn't hear that.
What's that, Jack?
I couldn't hear what was just said.
The question was, if the 10,000 for the fire company, was that out of the fire tax? And it's not, it's out of the general fund. Number 1, let's go back up to the insurance renewal package. So we need a motion to approve Brown and Brown of the Lehigh Valley as our broker of record, and to approve their proposal, right? Okay, so Joey's moved it. Do we have a second?
And that is subject to further
Second.
negotiation.
We can look
Build
at
it on property values.
Was that a second, Jack?
It wasn't me, but I can make a second.
Yeah, I second.
Okay, so Ed seconded it. Very good. Thank you. There was discussion here about that, it still leaves it open for negotiations on property values if that happens, okay? But this would be worst case scenario. All right, any other questions or discussion?
Yeah, can I ask Fred a question? Fred, and when you reviewed this, is there any other areas you feel we could address or not?
In terms of having coverage yet that we're not
Yeah.
covered.
Well, what they reviewed, so you feel comfortable with those prices and everything? There's not any room anywhere else for us? That's pretty much what we're gonna,
Well,
I just-
what
I
Brown
just-
and Brown does is they basically go out and they shop the market.
yeah,
So they've taken our insurance and given it to a number of different carriers, and this is the best price based upon the bids that they've received. So, the only other thing for us that we could do to save money would be to increase our deductibles. But we already have a
Yeah.
high deductible on our cars and a high deductible on our properties. So that's basically the only place you're going to save money right now.
Yeah.
You're pretty well, your insurance coverage is very comprehensive.
okay, I was just, as long as you're comfortable with it, you have the knowledge of it, so I was just wanted to ask.
Yeah, our big problem is, like any other employer, if you give out raises, your workers' comp, because your workers' comp's based on payroll, based 100% on payroll.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right, and so under administration, we'll address number 2 and 3 at the meeting at the end of the month. Okay, anything else, Michael?
So I had
Okay, any questions for Michael? Okay, EDA, Jack.
Nothing new really, except the liquor license statement that you put together. Just, maybe having a conversation about, are we comfortable with it and what do we do with it? And the other-
Have it under old business.
Oh, you do? Okay, sorry. Well,
I just wrote it on my paper under old business.
oh, okay. And then along with that, were we able to check to see if all voters are going to be able to vote?
Yes, they can.
Real business too, I guess. Oh, great. Okay. Yeah.
And Fred, you've already voted, haven't you?
I'm an independent, and I voted on Friday.
Okay. Any questions for Jack? All right, very good. Parks and Rec, Ed.
Yes, sir. I have a couple things here tonight. Number one, I'm going to ask for a approval for the guardrail repair at Newville Community Park for $1,590. This is being covered by insurance. It's a 3x10, 10x10 post, new guardrails put in, and new hardware and steel plates required. So that's the price we got. I need to see if we can get approval for that tonight for $1,590.
Is that a motion, Ed?
Yes, it is.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Any other discussion?
The insurance
Others-
company's gonna pay that?
Yes, they've already been notified, Marcus.
Good.
Fred, what
Hey.
hit that? Just out of curiosity, excuse me, Scott. Fred,
I
who hit?
don't want to upset the mayor, but a woman driving an electric car.
All right, that's a lot of damage.
Uh,
You thought it was a charging station.
I won't say I'm glad it was a woman and not a man, but I sort of am.
Yeah.
She originally backed into the telephone pole and then got frightened and gave it the gas and.
Well, she didn't give it the gas, Fred, but.
Yeah.
Give it the volt.
Gave it the electric, gave it the charge, like Sandra.
Yeah.
All right. So you have a motion and a second in front of you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
Right.
Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay. Next one, Ed.
Yeah, Fred wanted me to discuss the final event schedule and associated contracts for the summer rec program. And I don't have anything newer than our last meeting we had. So I don't know if Jody or Fred has something to add to that.
Sandy is coming into the office on Tuesday and she's to have all the contracts.
Okay, all right. So
That's
we'll discuss that at the end of the month meeting. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, Scott, this isn't on my agenda, but Saturday we had our first Kiwanis fishing event.
Yeah.
And we gave out 42 fishing rods. We're there from 9 to almost 11 o'clock. We had 50 some people show up. It was just a great day. Had a good time, and hopefully this is something that the Kiwanis will be able to continue. So thanks to everybody.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was just a great day, and I tell you, there were some needy children there, and it really made it worthwhile to have this. We had help from different people in the community, help these kids hook up lines and just teach about casting. There was no hooks involved, so it was all in the grass, but just had a great participation and just a good time overall. So made a good name for us in our park and the Kiwanis Club. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Very good. Thank you for Kiwanis for doing that.
Yeah, it was great. That's all I have.
All right. Any questions, Fred? All right, public safety. Anybody have anything from the committee or the council here?
I would ask council to consider the purchase of the tasers. You know, the chief came to us at meeting with a discussion about the condition of the tasers in the police department. And the council did ask him to get prices. So he obtained prices for the tasers. 3 of those will cost $3,489. He will have to purchase new cartridges and battery packs to go with those. So the final price is $4,708.83 for the new tasers and equipment. And these will be the latest model tasers from Axon Enterprises Incorporated. And it's very important that our officers have good tasers, because now more than ever, you can see in the news media non-lethal force is, what we are told to follow through with. So you could act on that tonight if you.
Mr. Mayor, you might know the answer to this. Can the old tasers be sold, or are they shot, for lack of better words? I'm full of
The
puns tonight.
chief found a company that buys discontinued or old tasers. The company that manufactures tasers doesn't take trade-ins anymore. The first two times we replaced them, we were able to get trade-in value. But the chief found a company that if we get the new tasers, the old ones will be shipped to this company. They'll do evaluation and then provide the chief with a quote on what they will pay for them. And then we can decide whether to accept it or reject it. I can't imagine rejecting it because that's the only avenue to get any value from them. Just to expand a little bit, it would have been interesting to have this discussion when our two insurance representatives were here. We're on with this, because I have no doubt that part of the premium we pay for police liability is based on how our police officers are equipped. And today, in today's police world, to send an officer out on the street with nothing but a lethal weapon and take away, taking away the non-lethal side of the equation could come back to be a real liability for the borough. I'm the first to admit that this is expensive. First tasers were purchased when I was the chief, 2004, when the station was still in the Borough building. They were around $500 a piece. We paid for them out of the calendar fund. Those were replaced in 2014 with what we have now. We actually used the first batch a few years past their useful life. When we replaced them, they were up to $700 to $800 a piece. We also paid for those out of the calendar fund. We now, the tasers we're considering replacing now are 7 years old, also about a year past their useful life. Now they're $1,000 a piece. And there are times when, for lack of a better word, we're stuck. It's perfect example when the county decided to put in a new radio system. Not something that we personally would have done or requested or asked for, but we were saddled with the consequences of that, and that was spending a lot of money on new radios. When PennDOT decided to quit printing the written traffic citations, that's something we would have decided, but the results of that decision forced us in-car laptops, electronic citation printers, scanning devices. None of those items are things that we would have chosen for ourselves. But we had to spend the money to comply with a decision that was made by another entity. And this is sort of the same thing. Fortunately, once we have them, we're good for probably 6 or 7 plus years before we would have to consider this again. But again, sending officers out on the street with no self-defense option but a handgun, not good. And
Chief, why are we asking for 3 and not 4?
There is
Chief, that's mayor.
There is
Used to be
one of
chief.
the current ones that has received a lot less use than the other three, and that is the one carried by the chief. And I also think, credit to the chief, it's an effort on his part
Sure.
to reduce the cost. He spent the time online to research the company that we may generate some income from. And also, I referenced our calendar fund. We have money in the calendar fund. About half of what's in it is designated for dress uniforms and dress leather and that type of stuff. Money that was provided by the borough, but is currently sitting in the calendar fund waiting to be used for these items. But we have enough of our own that if necessary, we would be willing, once again, to use some of that if we had to. Over the years, when I was chief, when we bought our first set of new handguns, we paid for them out of the calendar fund. When we bought the handguns that we are replacing now, we paid for them out of the calendar fund. Why? And the new guns are being totally paid for with what we've sold the current firearms for. Why do I mention these things? Because you'll go a long way before you will find another police department that raises money to buy equipment like this one does to save the borough the expense. Over the years, from when I became a member of the department through now, well over $25,000 of equipment that the police department has funded itself. And I guess that ends my off-the-cuff presentation.
All right. You don't happen to know ballpark what we might get for the old ones?
No.
Okay.
The chief told me this company does an assessment on what they need to do to how much effort and expense they have to put into rehabbing what we send them.
Okay. All right, so we're looking for a motion to approve the purchase of tasers in the amount of $4,708.83. I should say tasers and supplies. And this will be paid from the general fund.
So moved.
It's been moved. Do we have a second?
I'll second. For the technology involved, I really didn't think that was a bad price at all.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right, very good. Any,
So thank you for that decision. And I'll make sure that the chief understands whatever we do realize from the sale of those tasers will come back to the general fund.
all right. Anything else for public safety? Okay, quality of life, Joey?
I don't have anything tonight.
Nothing from quality of life. Any questions for Joey? All right, under old business, I just have down the ballot question. I know Jack had already asked the question about who can vote. So independents, they got their ballots. If they're doing mail-in ballots, they already got them in the mail. And on the independent ballot is the ballot question, or the liquor ballot question. So that is on an independent's ballot. So every voter in Newville can vote for the ballot question, whether they're, no matter what party or what they belong to. They just have to be a registered voter. Okay. The other thing is that there's the
in the newsletter?
There is the, everybody got the basically the state from the borough, or the statement from the borough. Is there any questions about that? Any comments? And the next question is, what do you want to do with that? Now, I will say, in the borough, or I'm sorry, in the newsletter that just went to print, there is a section that is about the ballot question. Okay, and it identifies a lot of the points that are in the statement that we talked about. The question I might have is, I don't know, is this going to reach people by May 18th? So it might be close.
At the printers, so we get it, it'll be close.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, what do you want to do with that statement? Is it something you just want to plug up on the website and social media? You just want to have it available for people who ask? Jack had posed a question about, like, we should have it addressed. I agree. There should be somebody that people can contact if they have questions. I'm willing to put my name on there for that.
Do a letter to the editor that you sent on Valentine's with
Fred had suggested that we could also do a letter to the editor. Basically just using the statement if you want to do that. It's up to this body how you want to address it.
Fred, could you do a direct mail of just the statement?
Yes, but that would be time to coincide with a newsletter, so.
Yeah, I don't know about spending money on it. Yeah.
Are you planning to have poll advocates at the various polls about the question?
I don't think that was the intention, although if I said something to one or two of the people that sent petitions around, they'd probably be more than happy to do it. I can tell you they've already had conversations with friends.
What are they, do you know what they're hearing, Scott, from people?
They're hearing positive stuff.
We've had no questions at the office.
The office has not had any questions. There have been nothing at the office. But if you put the statement out, that might garner some questions, which is fine. And we can direct them to either contact the office or we can I can put my email address down, or they can forward any questions to me, and I'm more than happy to speak on behalf of it.
Fred, of the 4 ballot questions, was the liquor question the easiest to understand?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
The answer was yes.
Well, that should be in our favor.
I think it was a very good explanation of what the benefits are and the limitations. And it answers a lot of the questions that people have heard. I think it would make sense to get it out proactively, but I guess we need to think about how. I'd be disinclined to put it on the Facebook page, because that people get very spun up on Facebook, and it's.
I didn't say we can turn comments off on it. We can turn the comments off on it.
Oh, well. I think on my opinion would be putting it on the website would make sense, because it is a really good explanation of something that we've taken the trouble to go around and add to the list of things that we think would be good for the economic future of Newville. And I think people would our constituents would probably like to hear what we think about it. But beyond that,
I would agree the websites.
What'd you say, Mike?
Sorry, I thought you were finished.
I am.
Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
I would agree. Website is a good place. However, I would say that if we're trying to get the word out, social media does need to be part of the package, because that's where people go for information today.
Right.
Even if you just put a link up to the website, that's social media needs to be part of the package.
Okay.
From an advertiser standpoint. I would move that we put it on the webpage. We put at least a link to the webpage on Facebook, and that we do the letter to the editor for both newspapers.
When you say both, that was the Sentinel and Valley Times?
And the comments be disallowed on the Facebook post.
Yeah, that makes sense. If we're going to do it on Facebook, if we can sort of control the dialogue a little bit, I think that would be good. And then, as Scott said, I think we need to have contact information that people can contact. Maybe all of our phone names and phone numbers should be on there, or at least some representative number.
Well, I think that if you put the office number on, then, Fred and Jody, they can farm it out to who they would need to. And they can send it to us if it's an email, and one of us, or we can respond to it. If it's a phone call, they can give somebody's phone number to speak to. I'm not a big fan of putting my personal cell phone number out there. I already get enough phone calls as it is.
That's okay with me.
All right, so what we have is a motion to publish the ballot question statement, council statement to the webpage. Also put a link on Facebook and turn the comments off, and to send it as a letter to the other editor to both the Sentinel and the Valley Times Star. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion?
Hey, Scott,
Yes.
I just want to, since my name is going to be on this as part of the Borough Council, either agreeing or disagreeing, I hate to say this, but I took it upon myself to go to the Bureau of Elections and get a copy of the ballot.
Uh-huh.
And I really haven't gone through it much, but I have found names that should not be on there. So
There were names, you are correct. There were names that should not have been on there. And I actually highlighted the ones for her. I went ahead and did that, but I highlighted names for her and told her that these people shouldn't be on there. But it still had double
I know there's
what was
enough names
needed.
I know there's enough to prove it.
The other thing too is that
I understand that, but I just want to let, I did go and have a copy of it. And there is names that, shouldn't be on there, but it's not enough names to change what we're going to do, so.
That's too bad.
the other thing is, I mean, how do you want it signed? You just want it signed Newville Borough Council? I don't feel like we have to put your individual names on, because it was not a unanimous decision on council, but it was a council decision. So, I mean, to me, that's how you would handle it. Okay. Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's all right. It makes sense.
Okay. All right. All right, so you have a motion, and it was properly seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Any abstentions? All right, motion carries. Anything else under old business? All right, new business. Anything for new business?
I think we should go to in-person meetings and skip this Zoom, because tonight was a prime example of how lousy it is. It kept cutting out. You hear something that sounds like a doorbell through the entire meeting, and it's very distracting.
It's up to this body. Whenever you're ready.
Well, I think given that the CDC still has concerns about meetings in closed rooms, we should continue the option. I think what we need to do is fix the technology. I think that's the problem. That's what we bought it for, and we need to make it work.
Agreed,
Can
agreed.
you do that, Jack? Because I know many people have tried and it hasn't worked yet.
I can't.
According to a news report I saw today, all restrictions are being lifted on Memorial Day other than masks.
Yeah.
So for our next meeting, we will completely
In June.
Yeah, actually, is our next meeting before Memorial Day or after?
No, it's the 25th.
Oh, so it's before. Because what Michael pointed out was that in Pennsylvania, all restrictions are being lifted except for the mask restriction on Memorial Day. So June 1st, theoretically, we can, meet within that, within the space.
Yeah, and then we certainly have a legal right to do it, but the national guidance on this suggests it's not a good idea. And if you look at the Times every day, Cumberland County is still a very high risk county. So I think people should have the option. I don't think you should have to choose between your job and your health.
Well, I mean, again, that's up to this body, however you want to approach it. I mean, the body decided to go this way back in March, and it's council's decision to make those changes when they're ready to come back. So I don't disagree with you, Jack. There should be an option, but at the same time, that's my opinion, not the council's.
I would ask this question of Jody. When you say go back to in-person meetings, you're saying a more public meeting where citizenry can attend as well, or just?
Well, it's a public meeting, so you have to have availability for the public to be here. But is there anybody from the public on here tonight?
It's a negative, Ghost Rider.
Yeah. We get
Could show up here, they might. So,
Lucy, it would be Lucy. It would be Lucy, maybe Bobby, I don't think you're gonna have many unless there's something.
aggravates it.
Yeah.
You could put 8 chairs around and have the council up here at the table. You could still have 8 chairs around. There's 7 here, I think now. Do that now.
I just think it's hard to hold a meeting where there's all the distractions that, the noise and the internet access, not, half of what Randy was trying to say, I couldn't hear because,
It was muffled.
cutting out.
Yeah. So I agree. And, my personal opinion is everybody has had the opportunity to get vaccinated. To my knowledge, I mean, everybody's in that segment of the population now. And, not that vaccines are going to solve everything, but they are a huge step to eliminating the disease and at least making it manageable if you do get COVID. But again, that's my personal opinion. I've been vaccinated and I'm good to go. I'll be honest, I'm not thrilled with a bunch of people in the room without a mask on, because that's.
But we would still have to be masked because that's what you know. I
Right,
know we're
if-
sitting here
if-
without masks on, but-
Well, if we're gonna have that many people in the room, it
Right,
needs to be masked.
right.
But, I haven't heard a motion or anything like that, so I don't know
I'll make a motion.
where you want to go.
Go back to in-person meetings.
Is there an option for,
Oh, and if you want to continue with Zoom, as long as we don't hear a doorbell every 5 minutes, or what sounds like a doorbell.
all right, so Joey has made the option, or has asked to return to in-person meetings with the option of Zoom, for those who would rather go that direction.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion?
And with the arrangement of the room that we have now, will stay. We won't go back to the old.
The only thing I would say, can everybody get around here and those two tables be gone? So that way, if there are people sitting out there, they're not looking at the back of people's heads.
You need all these tables to space the board members.
Okay.
And I'll put it this way, when I had the advisory committee meeting here, we had people sitting, it was just like this, and then,
As long as you're comfortable, we just have to excuse ourselves until,
right,
we can put everybody back on one side.
right.
I'm fine with that. But any other discussion or questions?
So did the motion include masks or not?
It will be masked, yes.
All right, so Joey says with mask.
Sure.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. So the end of the month, or I'm sorry, June 1st, starting June 1st, because that's after restrictions are all lifted. So after June 1st, in-person meetings with the option to Zoom, and that option would continue to be for the public as well. So the next meeting will have to be the way we've been running it, which is pretty much the direction of where we're going anyways. So, okay.
And do
Any other new business?
we have a plan to improve the technology here?
Well, we did have a plan, but I'm not sure after dealing with the internet over the past 2 nights or the past 2 meetings, if that is going to solve our problem.
I could ask Curb Tech to come out and look
So we can pull curb tech in.
Make a motion that we approve.
But-
Curb Tech.
Yeah. What's the internet speed at the building?
-45.
at. We can upgrade, Stroller looked at a package, and we can upgrade for about $34 to a higher speed internet for the entire building.
We need to do that down in our church.
That may be a wise thing to do.
We might want to look at.
The police department did it.
Why? It sounds like Michael's going to make a motion about having curb tech in, and why don't we also assess it at that time?
I would say to approve the increase in fee as well from you said that was a package from the phone company or from
Yeah,
Comcast.
Comcast would come in and upgrade the.
So my motion would be to get the smart TV and everything working properly and to bring in Comcast to increase our speed.
Does everybody hear that motion?
Yeah, I second that.
Other than the fact that
All those in favor say aye.
R2D2.
R2D2.
Yeah.
It is Star Wars Day, so.
It was just the sound of the voice.
So his motion was to bring curb tech in to address the technology issues and to increase our internet speeds with Comcast. Any other discussion? It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Any other new business?
Scott, I have two things, and they both relate to the new municipal building. Contracts 1 through 5, all of the low bidders in each category received a letter last week advising the council has tentatively accepted their prices. The contracts will not be signed until everything related to the building is resolved, all matters related to the building are resolved. But I just felt it was important that these people submitted a bid, that they knew where we stood.
Right.
And today I sent a letter to the Department of Labor and Industry, the Bureau of Wage Rates. And I informed them, I sent them a copy of our agreement with Mr. Gobin. And I gave them all the facts regarding the building, and I've asked if they would respond in writing definitively, do prevailing wage rates apply to our new construction? So that letter went out. I'll let you know what the response is.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, future agenda items? Okay, Fred, I don't think there's any comment.
There were no comments in the box.
And there's nothing on the YouTube?
No emails.
No emails, nothing. Okay. All right. It's up to you.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn until May 25th at 7 p.m.
It's been moved to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say no.
You lose.